Hey everybody, welcome to the Pain Away Wellness Week. We decided to do this one because 1/3 of the American population is suffering from pain. And I got that particular number from the National Institute of Health National Pain Consortium. And it says 1/3 of American population deals with significant pain issues, and those pain issues are totaling medical costs for this is $560 to $635 billion per year. Huge industry we have for the pain industry. So I'm going to take a few more minutes than 3 to kind of do the summary of pain. We cannot talk pain without understanding inflammation. So I'm going to start this morning kind of describing inflammation, what is its source, and why is it the main culprit to pain. Okay, so knowing that it's going to be a little longer than 3 minutes, I apologize in advance, but I will talk as quickly as I can and making sure that the pertinent information that will help you through this week is there so that informed information and informed decision can play to your benefit. All right? So, firstly, we're going to talk inflammation first, because without inflammation, we don't have pain. Inflammation causes pain. Okay? So, I'm going to start on the inflammation to give us understanding of how that turns to the pain that 1/3 of the American population know. All right? So, first off, you need to know it's an absolute natural body response. Okay? Inflammation is our healthy response to tell us that something is bigger and wrong and we need to fix it. Okay? Kind of like a fever. A lot of people are scared to death of fevers, but a fever is actually letting people know that their immune system works. So when it goes too high, it's out of control, but we have ways to help that. But inflammation, kind of the same way. It's a way to tell us that, hey, something's wrong and you need to fix it. Preferably at the root. Don't bandage it. Don't cover it up. Don't mask it. Get to the root and fix it. Okay? So, the healthy inflammation response is part of the innate immune system, and that is the part that clears and cleans tissues and cells all the time. Just allergens, pathogens, infections, those kind of things. It's constantly it's inside working without us ever knowing about it. So it's innate. Now, so literally we must have a healthy inflammation to prevent the breakdown of our body tissues due to pathogens or injury. You need to understand that it's not an infection. Inflammation is a response to a healthy response to an infection. Okay? So, 2 types of inflammation. We have acute, that is, I cut my finger. It was a one-time incident. I have, it is allergy season, so I have a trigger to elm pollen. I get elm pollen, I have more inflammation than normal, and my body's letting me know elm pollen's in the air. Okay? So, those are acute. Now, chronic, that's long-term. Long-term inflammation, that's all chronic inflammation is. How does my body go from acute to chronic? Well, that's a good question, because there are two ways that your body will go to a chronic scenario. The first way is a natural progression. If the pathogen that's causing the inflammation overwhelms this complete process, now we're in a chronic situation. Okay? So usually this type happens from masking. It's you went into a scenario and said this, and this. They said they gave you an antibiotic and sent you home. They didn't go to the root of the inflammation. They're just assuming that it's an infection. So we give you an antibiotic and it doesn't take care of it because it was the wrong treatment for that particular inflammation. We have to go deeper. We have to understand where it's coming from to stop chronic. So it will either be overwhelmed or it's given wrong treatments and causes it to even explode more, which is worse. The other way is when our body misidentifies healthy tissue for unhealthy tissue. And when it identifies it as unhealthy, it is going to now attack it until it gets it to where it sees it as healthy. That means it's breaking it down and taking it away as healthy. So that is the definition of an autoimmune disease. Those are the only two ways we go from acute healthy inflammation response to a chronic long-term scenario. So outside of the autoimmune type diseases that I just discussed, there's also COPDs, your asthma, which is a COPD, a specific one, but arthritises. All of these are types of or issues that can bring on chronic, out of control inflammation responses. So chronic is also the one that causes most disease, okay, because it's breaking things down that doesn't need to be broken down, even though the body thinks it does. So what's the natural regulator in our body to this healthy inflammation response? It would be the cortisol. Okay, the hormone cortisol is the natural regulator of the immune response. So let's look at cortisol for just a minute, because it comes from the adrenal gland. So if my adrenal gland is stressed or not healthy for some reason or fatigued, how can my adrenal gland spit out cortisol to help with the inflammation cycle? And how is cortisol? Well, cortisol is our body's most powerful anti-inflammatory hormone there is. So now let's put that in perspective. If my adrenal gland is fatigued, I'm not getting enough cortisol out to slow the inflammation to the healthy components the body can keep up with. Okay? So now if another way it can do this is it can go broken and release cortisol continuously, putting us in a fight or flight predicament continuously. That's no good for us either. So there has to be a happy balance in our adrenal gland to shoot cortisol when it's necessary in an acute scenario for our inflammation, and that would allow it to go back down to normal levels, giving the body its time to rest and recuperate from that trauma. Okay? If I stay in a fight or flight, that my body is going to recognize that as continuous and never give my adrenal gland the rest and my organs that the adrenal gland to produce the cortisol enough time to rest or relax, so it can't recuperate. And so we constantly stay in a state of anti-inflammatory out there, but in a state of fight or flight that breaks me down at the same time. So now my cortisol is no longer effective as the anti-inflammatory because my body just grew accustomed to it. And also my fight or flight never gives my body that rest or relaxation to recoup, to become healthier again. So that's why it's really important to know where the inflammation is, the root of the inflammation cycle then is right in the adrenal gland. And if we know that, now we know that we can help the body help itself in the adrenal gland region. Okay? Now that we know a little bit about the inflammation and the cortisol and the adrenal gland, that's the main part of where pain, because inflammation causes pain. So this now is why we all have pain, if any of this is out of whack. So let's talk pain a little bit. Pain is classified 5 different ways. Acute, well, I talked about that a little bit with the cut on my finger. It's intense, it's short-lived, and it's caused by a trigger like an allergen or a specific event like I cut my finger, okay? Number 2 is chronic. That's ongoing, and it's from mild to intense, continuous. The third kind is called Nonnoxiceptive, and there's 2 categories in Nonnoxiceptive. Nonnoxiceptive includes somatic and visceral. Somatic is going to be everything musculoskeletal. So a sprain, a strain, sore muscles, the cut, okay? Now, visceral is going to be anything within me, within this skin, okay? So all of my internal organs, anything in my body cavities, stomach ache, bladder infection, cramps, Charlie horses, all of those would be visceral. So those are in the nonnoxiceptive classification of pain. Fourth one is the non-nonnoxiceptive pain. And this has 2 categories as well. Neuropathic, which is nerve pain. Best example I can give for the neuropathic non-nociceptive is a pinched nerve. You have a nerve between this tissue and the spinal cord, and it hurts. Okay? Non-nociceptive. Then the sympathetic class of non-nociceptive. This is things that we can't control. Okay? If you remember, sympathetic is the part of the nervous system that takes care of the heartbeat, the respiration, the blood flow, things that we don't control that. That's all taken care of internally. And so things like soft tissue damages, the ACL that gets torn behind the knee, that's going to be a sympathetic, non-nociceptive pain class, okay? Then the last one is referred pain, and it's kind of the strangest of them all, because referred pain means you're feeling a pain in an area other than where the initial or original site of the pain really is. And so the best example that I can think of that most people have some type of relation to is a heart attack. The initial source of pain is the heart. It's going through an attack, but you feel the pain, the first symptoms in your arm or in your back. Okay? So that is called referred pain. Now, it's easier to know your classifications, so that's why I went through that. Now, this is where it gets a little bit longer because I want to tell with you the medical approach to pain when you go into an office, clinic, medical clinic. They're going to approach with, this is the approach. They want to know the original site of pain. Are there any other areas affected by that pain? When is the pain most aggravated? Are there activities that influence, that make it worse or better? Does it affect your individual mood or your ability to function? Those are what they blanket everything pain. Not one time did inflammation come into any of these questions. And that's a terrible thing because pain is caused by inflammation. We need the root, not the band-aid. So the holistic approach is really highly effective due to the chemistry of the oils, because it's the chemistry of each oils that gives it the properties that help our bodies help itself. Okay? So if we can help interrupt the continuous chronic inflammation system from the root, which is in the adrenal gland, then we can help the inflammation, which automatically reduces the pain. So that's why I wanted to kind of go through this a little bit more in detail than I usually do, because pain in itself is a symptom, the symptom of inflammation, and is the inflammation that's causing the pain where I mean, we're talking adrenal gland for the cortisol, okay? If we go to fix the balance the adrenal gland and it doesn't help, then we've got a different root. But 98% of the time, it's going to be, that root will be started in the adrenal gland. So, also, I cannot go without saying that foundationally, when we're talking holistic, we have to talk nutrition. When your cells and your tissues are nutritionally sound, they have the solid foundation of nutrition, then they can react more positively to the chemicals that the essential oils are bringing to them to help. So they're more effective when my tissues and cells have the nutrition that keep them at optimal too. So everything is connected, everything is working together. Just to talk pain, we had to talk inflammation. This affects the nervous system, the circulatory system, the immune system, the skeletal system. Every single system in the body is going to be affected by inflammation or pain if we don't get to the root of it. So I hope this helps with what's coming up this week. I'm so excited to share all of the individual oils and a little bit more tidbits here and there. But like I said, I really hope that we're helping bring it together to an understanding that takes you to a empowering level to bring your pain management program to a natural, effective alternative. All right? Can't wait to see you tomorrow night for our first chat, and look forward to our first official video post tomorrow morning. All right? Go ahead and leave us your name, your what brought you, or who invited you, and what part of your body brought you to Pain Away. All right? See you tomorrow. Love and wellness your way always. Till then, bye.